on YouTube. Just give me one sec.
Oh, sorry.
No worries. You should be up shortly. See,
We're good. We can go now.
You see it? Okay. Yeah, I'm filling in for Diego, you know. All right, here we go.
We're good to go?
Yep.
Okay, great. We'll call this meeting to order at 3:06, and I'll get a quick roll call. Trustee Cervantes,
Here.
Trustee Kenny, or I'm
Here.
sorry, Member Kenny,
So here anyway.
Member Vitale, looks to be absent, and Member Lyford.
Yeah, Member Lyford let me know that she has a meeting at work, so she's unable to attend. Jim might end up joining us. I think he accepted the invite, so we'll see.
Okay, and then to make it official, I am here, Trustee Andrews, so we do have a quorum and we can go ahead and get started. So the first thing, is there any reordering of the agenda items?
No.
Okay. If not, Nikki, do I need a vote for the approval of the agenda?
Yeah, we need to adopt it, so a motion.
I'll move.
It's been moved and seconded then to adopt the agenda? Okay.
I'll say,
Member Kenny? I vote for, is that I vote for you?
aye.
Okay. Trustee Cervantes?
That's an aye for me as well.
And then Trustee Andrews is an aye for me as well. So the agenda has been adopted. Now we'll move on to the consent calendar. We should take care of our business here.
Well, and just so you know, there's no public comment that was submitted on non-agenda items.
Okay, great, thank you.
Mhm.
And so now, can I get a motion to adopt the consent calendar, which is the approval of our minutes from the last meeting?
I've read through it and have no changes, so I'll move.
I'll second.
Okay, been moved and seconded to approve the consent calendar. Member Kenny,
Aye.
Trustee Cervantes,
Aye.
and Trustee Andrews is an aye. Okay, thank you very much. And so, Nikki, I'll let you take over. We've got a special presentation as the next item.
Okay, thank you, Trustee Andrews. So good afternoon. Thank you again to Doug Anderson and Mike Kavanaugh, not only for being here this afternoon to give us a review of the final official statement and basically how the bond issuance and sale went, but also for all their work on it. I think we had a really solid bond issuance team. They were great to work with, including our bond counsel from BB&K, as well as our special tax assessment firm, NBS. So thanks to you both, and I'll turn it over to you. Just so you're all aware, we did include the final official statement in the agenda package. It's like, I think a good 125 pages, but really has like all the information anyone could possibly want to know about the bond, as well as the final numbers. So that's all in the package as well. So I'll turn it over to you, Doug.
Great, thanks, Nikki. Good afternoon, everybody. I think you saw the last official statement had blanks in it where the interest rates were. And of course, after our sale, that was finalized along with all the other closing documents. The sale went great. Mike, I'm going to have you talk about the actual sale if you want to just give us the highlights of how that went.
Right now?
Sure, right now.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I thought we had a very successful sale. In our business, I say timing is everything. And though we didn't catch the low of the market, which was probably November, December, we caught some very favorable interest rates. I just went back and looked now. Interest rates are up 30 to 50 basis points since the day we priced to today.
Wow.
So those numbers are sold. We had great order flow. I think we had $90 million in orders for the 23 million in bonds. So I think it was very successful order period. And as I said, if you were to be in the market today, the interest rates would be 50 basis points higher. So I think overall in that aspect, it turned out pretty successful.
Great, thanks, Mike. And I know you had sent some notes out. And for everybody's benefit, we did open it up, or Mike's group did open it up to residents or local, anyone local. There was some interest. I think they had 9 or 10 phone calls, and that ended up resulting in, what was it, Mike, about $200,000 worth of orders?
Yeah, retail orders came in. Yeah, did we, about 240,000 in retail orders, and I want to say 2 of those were from residents. Is that right, Nikki? Does I have that right? Yeah.
I think that's what you had said, yeah.
Yeah, I believe. Mhm.
So again, the bonds were sold in $5,000 increments. So it perhaps, was a limited pool of folks who could jump right on that, but it certainly, the offer was made, everyone was aware of it. And we did get some interest, which is great. So so our total proceeds in the project fund was $22,939,286. Later on in the agenda, we're going to talk about perhaps ways to squeeze a little bit more out of that through investments. But as of now, that will more than meet the budget as it stands right now. So all in all, a successful sale. We're happy that we were able to be a part of it. We appreciate the opportunity. Any questions for anybody?
I have none.
I don't have any questions specific to the sale, but a couple regarding the various funds that we have, and might that be a question for later on in the presentation, Nikki?
Related to how we're gonna keep the proceeds, or?
Well, there were a series of funds that would be taken care of by our fiscal agent, and I just wondered how they overlapped with, with our own accounting and how that will all be taken care of. So that might even not even be a topic for this meeting, but I just wondered if it was appropriate to ask that now.
And Nikki, we really haven't talked about that, but I wondered if Ian had set up at least some separate funds accounting wise for you. Eventually, you're going to be drawing down on those proceeds that the trustee has and moving them into your accounts. And I think it'll be good to have a separate, if not account, then certainly a fund system that Ian would set up to memorialize those transfers and then show how they've been expended.
Yeah, we did set up at the beginning of this fiscal year a capital investment fund. So the proceeds, when we draw down from them, will be transferred into that account. Currently, right now, we need to draw down from the proceeds to pay back the general fund. I think it's almost $360,000 that we've fronted, mainly for like capital project management. Who else have we paid? The architect, and then some of the studies that have been done, such as tier 3 seismic, the hazmat study. So all of that, the general fund will be getting reimbursed. But again, when we draw down, it will be accounted for completely separate.
Okay, my questions probably then are better suited for a meeting with Ian and getting a little bit more of the accounting stuff worked out. So
Okay.
I will wait on that.
Okay. Any other questions? No, I know you guys have seen these documents so many times since last summer that I'm sure it's all very familiar at this point. So, but long story short, one of the people that works for Hilltop Securities, when we met that morning, because the sale only takes 2 hours, which blows my mind. All the leading up and all the work that we had to do, and it's done in 2 hours, which is cool. But he had said to us, like, whoever chose Thursday morning, man, good pick. Because like even the day before rates weren't as good, it just amazes me how much fluctuation happens from day to day, honestly. So like Mike had said, we would have liked to have been able to do it back in December, but at the end of the day, the sale was very favorable. So, hey.
And I think that's one of the main benefits of doing a negotiated sale, where you can actually move that date around. If we had heard that there was some really bad economic news or something, we had the flexibility to move that around. Sometimes you'll see like large Los Angeles County issues, general fund issues that are on a bid basis. They set an actual date certain that they will have to go out and get bids. And if the market's not good that day, they really don't have flexibility to move it. So the structure that we had, where we had some flexibility, was really the best way to go for this size issue. So
Mhm.
And we certainly appreciate Doug, yours and Mike's leadership on this. Really helped the district to position ourselves favorably. So a lot of work went into it, but Nikki, like you said, it goes so quickly, and here we are. Now we've got the proceeds.
Yay.
Yeah, I was sort of stunned by the size of the package and how much is in there. Like you said, Nikki, I think this is the Bible of how everything will work for the next few years.
Mhm.
If you have any questions, we can probably look it up in here and find it. So good work. Dense, but good.
Very dense, yes. Okay.
Well, is there more to talk about then? No, that's it?
That's,
Okay.
yeah, that's really all I had, to sort of the high level summary, unless we have specific questions. So.
No, I guess we're done with the questions. If nobody else has any. And then getting back to the agenda itself, Nikki, we're also going to talk about
Investing. Yeah.
that would be the investment part of things. So is that upcoming now?
Yeah, that's what we'll move on to. So Mike, thank you so much for attending.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
Nice to see
Here,
everyone.
Mike. Yeah, likewise.
Yeah, so we'll move on to new business. And we have Doug here to talk about that as well.
Okay. So as part of our fiscal agent agreement, there are lots of definitions and terms. One of the definitions is permitted investments, and that spells out what the trustee is able to invest the monies in. Sort of the short summary of that is it's all very conservative, basically government-backed type investments. We're not looking to hit any home runs here. We want to protect the principal, perhaps make some earnings on it, but at any given time, it should be backed by guarantees or protected by the government. So that's sort of the summary of what the permitted investments are. Sometimes you can get an investment agreement from various providers, such as banks or insurance companies, but the permitted investment section stipulates that they must be very highly rated. And unfortunately, right now, the ratings are such that I think there's only one company that's qualifying right now. We had hoped to be able to talk with them, but they are not taking any money right now for project funds. So that's not really an option right now. The other options that would be available, and we mentioned in the staff report, are U.S. Treasuries, which is simple. Everybody understands that. They have definite terms. I mentioned in the report the rates currently in the low 1%, 1.29 for a 1 year, and approaching 2%, but not quite there yet for the 2 year. The issue with this is we would have to specify very specific drawdown dates. We've talked with Jennifer at Racklin Partners. They gave us sort of a draft drawdown schedule that they had estimated for the project, but it is still in draft form. So it's probably not quite ready to give hard, fast numbers to an investment broker to set specific drawdown dates. Another option, if you want a little more flexibility, and I didn't mention this in the staff report, but I've made some calls. One of the permitted investments is the state's local agency investment fund, or LAIF as they call it. So it's LAIF, Local Agency Investment Fund. They'll take proceeds from any public entity, cities, districts, and they will take bond proceeds. You have to give them an estimated drawdown schedule, but once you deposit the money with them, you can pull it out in chunks every 30 days. And you could pull it all out after day 30, or you could pull it out over the next 3 years every 30 days. So that's a lot more flexible. Unfortunately, for it being flexible, the rate isn't great right now. I should backtrack and say that the money is invested right now with the trustee in money market funds. However, those are paying a bare minimum of about 0.1%. So yes, it's invested, but it's not really earning a lot. The state's LAIF fund as of today is about 0.3%, but I think that's lagging. They reported it as of February. I'm guessing it's going to go up a little bit, so maybe might get up to 0.5% based on rates we've seen over the last couple of weeks. So you're getting about a quarter of what Can
you guys hear him? Oh, Doug, we lost your sound for some reason.
Oh,
Oh, now you're back.
okay.
So if you could go back to, I think the last I heard was the 0.3 to 0.5%, but, or, and,
Okay, so that's the,
oh, we lost you again.
yeah,
Hmm.
I don't see anything. Are you hearing me now or?
Now I can hear you.
Yeah, I don't know if our internet connection's bad here or what, but anyway, so quickly, LAIF is 0.3%, could go to about 0.5. You'd have the option to withdraw the money at any time you like in 30-day increments. So I mean, that's sort of the best two options I would say right now. We could, if we have real hard dates and numbers, we could go with treasuries. If we are unsure about that, I think LAIF might be a good option. So I think, maybe meet with Jennifer again, find out how soon they might have a better idea of when the funds are going to be drawn, or if that's not an option. I mean, it may be, I think a lot of her work was sort of dependent on other things happening. And, maybe we just go with LAIF for now until we can pick out some specific dollar amounts. But that's sort of an open-ended discussion for your perusal. Question?
Yeah, so in the report, well, first of all, thank you for that, Doug. In the report, we talk about not needing the funds, about 85% of it for at least a couple of years. So it's just a matter of when we anticipate we're going to need the resources, and it really comes back down to budgeting and the sequencing of the drawdowns. We could put it in the most simple form right now, keep it where it is, but certainly, I mean, to make a decision, it seems like we'd have to have a kind of a little better understanding of the actual anticipated schedule of the drawdowns. Nikki, from the discussions we're having with the community groups and coming up with the final designs and ultimately coming up with a budget, that's some time out, isn't it, as far as when we think that we're going to need these resources?
Yeah, I think the very earliest, I mean, besides what we're paying the architect right now, I don't think they anticipate construction on like Bob Lucas till late this year or even early next year.
Probably early next year.
Yeah, so it's like, it's just gonna sit there, But I was wondering too, Doug, so we're able to take the proceeds from the trust bank?
No, it would be,
Uh-oh, sorry, can't hear you again.
okay now?
Yep, I hear you now.
Okay, quickly, the trustee would invest it at your direction, but they would be making the investment. They would still hold it.
Okay. Kim?
I was reading this morning and talking to someone, and they asked me, aren't there 3 and 6 month treasuries? And is that not one of our options for some reason, or is that one of our options?
It is. I think I just put in these rates to give you an idea of what the 1 year and the 2 year were. But yes, once we have a better idea of the drawdown, we have an investment broker we work with that could set up a ladder of sort of basically customize it to your withdrawals.
Oh, Terry, you're muted.
Yeah, okay.
It seems like whatever plan we settle on would require a real close communication with facilities and with, the budget for building and so on. And then I saw your note there, Nikki, as a reminder that we need to expend at least 85% of the project fund within 3 years. And that's been a pretty rapid, pretty rapid outpouring of money. So I looked at the 1 and 2 year treasury securities thinking that's a pretty decent interest rate these days, but also wondering how much of our money we want to put into that group. So our fiscal agent is going to help us make a decision regarding exactly how we should do it.
No, they don't give investment advice. They'll just simply take your direction.
So Nikki, is part of our job today as a committee to make some sort of a recommendation to the board when we meet again?
Yes. Unless you want to table this, but as you see, we won't meet again with this group until June.
I wouldn't mind getting it done now. I guess if we had a little bit more information about it, then I don't know, it just feels like, did you have a recommendation yourself, having worked with a lot of the folks there about which way we should go?
I think at this point, since we don't have a real good drawdown schedule, we have a draft. And it turns out that the state will accept whatever you give them and you're not held to it. So maybe a short-term solution is to park it with LAIF. And then as you get a better idea of how you're going to expend it, then we could customize a treasury investment at some point in the next couple of months. It doesn't have to be tomorrow.
Okay.
LAIF has some
that makes
certain,
perfect sense.
I'm sorry, LAIF has some certain forms that you'll have to fill out. If you want to direct Nikki and I to work on that, I'm happy to work with her and we could move that money to LAIF under the trustees umbrella. So the trustee is still going to hold it.
So just to clarify, we want to try and get it out of the, can't remember if you said money market fund that it's in now and into something better, which would be LAIF, until we have a more concrete drawdown. Because
I think that's a good plan.
all right, because we're not confident enough in the drawdown plan to start investing it in.
Yeah.
Okay.
the treasury.
That sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, I would agree as well. We just don't have enough information right now to really, start parking this money into long-term investments. We don't have a game plan. So I think, Terry, I'll introduce a motion if you'd like to park this money into LAIF right now and request that Nikki and Doug come back at a later point. Once we have a more defined construction drawdown schedule, then that we can then look at different options and, really kind of concrete dollar amounts that we've, 1 year, 2 year treasuries, whatever the case may be, but based off of, everything being together, a snapshot of, the estimation of drawdowns and then how we're going to park money until such time that we need the money. So we take an action now, but have a more robust conversation later on once we have that information available with a more clear set of recommendations that accompanies the drawdown schedule.
An approval method like that makes sense to me, and it's something that would allow us to do a little bit more work on it before we, made it sound more final than that.
Well, and I will say that with the facilities committee, there's a lot up in the air right now, especially as it relates to the main funding. So I think by our next meeting, as long as you guys vote to approve the meeting schedule next, I would assume Doug and I will have a lot more information by June. So that buys us until then,
Perfect. So Terry, would you like you want a motion?
Yeah, I think a motion that allows us to get the other trustees involved in the plan by the next meeting would be good. And the way you phrased it about having a drawdown plan with a more permanent structure sort of to be determined in the coming months, especially as we check in with facilities and what the fiscal needs are going to be. That sounds like a good motion to come from our committee to them at our next meeting.
I think the motion itself will be to instruct Nikki to or to instruct for the bond proceeds to be placed in LAIF right now. That's one motion. Then there's an instruction from this committee for Nikki and the team to report back with the construction drawdown schedule and proposed investment options that reflect the timing of when those bond proceeds are necessary to meet the expenditures.
Mhm.
So one's a motion, the other one's an instruction.
I was trying to write all that down. Nikki, are you getting the basics?
Yeah, I'll watch it and I can get it from the video.
Okay.
But yeah, recommendation to the full board to invest with Leaf.
Right.
Yes. So I'll move if that's the motion. Okay, Kim, go ahead.
I'll second.
Okay. We'll take a quick vote then. Member Kenny,
Yes.
member trustee Cervantes,
Yes.
and trustee
Aye.
Andrews is a yes, so that motion passes. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks, Doug.
Okay, talk to you soon. Thanks.
Thank you, Doug.
Thanks
Appreciate
a
it.
lot. Good work. Nikki, anything else?
So our last action item is review and approval of the CFD for the remainder, the meeting schedule for 2022. As I put in the staff report, there's just not a need, I don't think, for this group to convene on a monthly basis. So the recommendation is to stick with the second Wednesday, but every 3 months, which would put us at June, September, and December at 3 p.m.
Yeah, I think that quarterly schedule sounds pretty good to me, unless something flares up and we can meet an emergency basis. And then one thing that you and I talked about, and Kim mentioned it at the last meeting, was the term that our citizen volunteers have signed up for, which I think was 2 years. Is that right?
Mhm, correct.
And that would be coming up toward the end of this year. I'm trying to remember when we started. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kim's face
Yeah,
there.
I feel like as we get closer to the end of the year, I think we should talk to our citizen community members about if it makes sense to continue to have community members involved or not, because like currently the budget committee is just composed of 2 trustees. So this committee could be the same, but I'd be curious to hear their thoughts once we're, closer to the end of the year and we have a much better idea of how the proceeds are being spent.
Yeah. And Kim, you appeared in the last couple of meetings, so will be the last citizen member standing. And I do think that you and the others, I'm not trying to slam them and all they've done, everybody's done great work. The time that we needed you the most was, eyes of the community on the bond process. And now that whole process is over. And you all did just great work on that. So I agree with Nikki that maybe this committee can morph into something that meets on more of a, inside the library basis with trustees and so on in the coming months. Do you, right now, if we go by the schedule that you put out, Nikki, our last meeting this year would be in December.
Mhm.
And I would just ask you, Kim, if that seems reasonable to the term that you signed up for. Can you sign up for that?
Yeah, no, I think that sounds fine. It sounds like we have a topic for June. I don't know how to weigh in on whether community members are still needed because I'm not sure what comes next for this committee. So, but I think it's a good, that conversation about do we need community members, yes or no? Because if it's yes, then it's a replenishment perhaps.
Right. Yeah, I think we would open it up to another application process. So
Yeah, and we'll know a lot more as we start spending money and getting the rhythm of it, the expenditures that are required and so on. So, okay. Well, is there any more discussion on this item? Well, if not, can I get a motion to move for the meeting dates for the rest of 2022?
I'll move.
I'll second.
All right, moved and seconded. For the record, member Kenny,
Aye.
trustee Cervantes,
Aye.
and that's an aye vote for me, trustee Andrews. Thank you. So that was a pretty quick meeting, all things considered. I thought it might go on longer than that.
well, when you look at the size of package, you wonder sometimes, but
Yeah, this definitely was not in proportion to the number of pages that we have there. All right, well, with that, can I get a motion then to adjourn?
If we must, yes.
All right,
I'll second.
all right. It's been moved and seconded to adjourn, and hearing no complaints about that, we'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting at 3:36 p.m. So thanks, everybody. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Welcome, Anna.
everyone.
Bye.
Everybody.